First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend I'm not going to financially support her if she quits her job to pursue an Etsy business? I've, 27 male, been dating my girlfriend, 25 female, for almost a year now. I'm a remote software engineer at Amazon, and she works at an Amazon warehouse. Before we started officially dating, we discussed our finances and decided that we would keep our finances separate and split everything 50-50. I told her before we started dating that keeping finances separate and equal was important to me, and she agreed to it. However, she's lately been mentioning how she wants to quit her job because it's making her miserable and start focusing on her art more. I told her that was a bad idea and that she should at the very least have a different job lined up before she quits her current one, and that she could start her Etsy business as a side hustle on weekends and weekday evenings and then pursue it full-time if it's profitable. She's been passive-aggressive about it to me lately. She thinks because I make enough money to comfortably support us both, she should be able to pursue what makes her happy. I think my suggestions to her problem were reasonable. I don't think she needs to risk her income and dive headfirst into this art thing till it proves to be somewhat profitable. She doesn't even want to apply to any other jobs because she only wants ones where she can do something artsy. Am I the a-hole for saying I'm not going to financially support her if she decides to go forward with such a risky move? Edit. You really don't need to tell me your opinions about whether you think our 50-50 split is fair or not. We're both adults, and she agreed to it. I'm not making her do anything. I don't love my job either, but being financially responsible is important to me. I understand some people think splitting equitably is more fair, and I disagree with that. But that's okay. People can have different opinions and do what works best for themselves. But that's not what I'm really asking about in this post. Now for the top comments before reading the little update. Not a a-hole. Your suggestion to her is perfect. She's extremely immature and entitled. She can of course pursue what makes her happy, but at the end of the day, there are real bills to be paid, and if she can't do that while doing things that makes her happy, she needs to be an adult and keep a job that pays the bill. Absolutely keep your finance separately and don't give in to her request. Also, you have only been dating for almost a year. Imagine her entitlement if you are actually married. Good God. And if you Google advice about making a side hustle your main income, every site will tell you exactly what Opie told his girlfriend. Start slow, build up your available stock and customer base, and only when it actually takes off should you quit your full-time job. She's setting herself up to fail by going all in without anything set up at all. If I was her boyfriend, of only 1 year, I wouldn't want to completely support another capable, able-bodied adult either. Agreed. And she is making the suggestion because she is hoping to use Opie as her safety net. Not the a-hole. She's a new girlfriend, not a wife/sugar baby. You agreed to terms before you started dating, and now she figures she's riding the gravy train. I'd say this is a red flag, and to be careful about how she responds next. Not the a-hole. This is a girlfriend of only 1 year, not a wife or even a fiancé. There is zero obligation to financially support her, especially when she seems to have no idea how to run her own business and hasn't even tried her hand at it yet. She seems to want to be a sugar baby and is already getting passive-aggressively upset at Opie's refusal to fund her artsy lifestyle plans. Don't do it, Opie. It will just make the breakup extra ugly and guilt-ridden. Update. I'm breaking up with her. Apparently, I'm controlling and bad boyfriend for expecting a grown adult woman to pull her weight in a relationship. My exes were engineers too, and 50-50 worked great for us, and we have the same morals and drive. My current girlfriend is different from what I'm used to, but her creative, spontaneous, carefree side is not cute to me anymore. She's just irresponsible, and I'm tired of being the mature one. I'm done with this. I don't feel like she's an equal partner to me. I'm all for being entrepreneurial. A lot of my colleagues have ventured out on their own and become successful. My girlfriend has no plans and just wants to wing it and let her passion run free. I'm done with her. She is better off without me. Thanks, Reddit. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for how I reacted when my fiancé dropped our son off at my workplace? I, male 27, am a nurse. My fiancé and I have a 1-year-old baby boy. Fiancé doesn't work. She decided to leave her previous job and stay at home. We've agreed that since I'm the one working, she's the one handling home chores. Our son's care is shared, meaning there are times when I handle his feeding, /bathing, /cleaning, etc. However, I made it clear that when it's time for work, she should be taking responsibility. So far, everything has been going according to what we agreed upon. But recently, she's been complaining about my shift hours changing, which is something I can't control obviously, because currently the unit lacks in nurses, and it's impossible for me to do day-to-day planning because sometimes I'd work 12 hours. Sometimes 15. So it's quite unpredictable. But I do my best to spend time at home and give my fiancée time for herself. Her cousin's wedding was 2 days ago. That morning, my fiancé wanted me to skip work and stay home with our son so she'd go to the salon with her sisters. I told her I can't just skip work for the day. I already had a long day shift that started at 7:45 a.m. till 6 p.m. I told her she could either call my mom or just wait for me to come home. She threw a fit and saying her cousin's wedding was important and I was being unsupportive. I left home after that and started my shift at the hospital. At around 1 p.m. when I was in the middle of work, it usually gets busier in the afternoon, I got a few missed calls from my fiancé. Then she sent a text telling me she was at the hospital's parking lot with our son. I went to meet her there. She wanted me to take our son and watch him till she gets back from the salon at 4. I lost it. I told her I can't watch our son when I'm in the middle of my shift, and she kept saying I should just let him stay with me and that it was okay. I absolutely lashed out at her. I called her unreasonable and selfish. She could have let someone watch him, but she said her family was busy. We got into an argument and she left him with me. I had to drive to Mom's house and let her have him till I finished my shift. I got home, but I was extremely pissed. My fiancé and her mom said I overreacted and that I was supposed to help since he's my son too. Mother-in-law said I was in the wrong for caring more about work than my own son. But I already told my fiancé I was busy. She wanted me to apologize for yelling and causing a scene, but I refused after this. I want to mention that she's normally fine with my work schedule until recently, and whenever there's an event, we'd both make arrangements and I'd stay with our son while she's gone. This time, I told her I was busy and that I won't be allowing her to distract me from work, but she was being stubborn, thinking I'm prioritizing work and being unsupportive. Those might be her mother's words, but my fiancé takes responsibility here. This misunderstanding, as my fiancé calls it, could have ended with a discussion, but her mother is determined to paint me as the bad parent who isn't pulling weight and taking part in responsibility in caring for our son. I'm tired of her and how she keeps judging me while ignoring her daughter's behavior. Mother-in-law said I was in the wrong for caring more about work than my own son. But getting her daughter getting her hair done is more important than your son? Not at a-hole. You're right. My mother-in-law is just trying to put the blame on me no matter how hard I try to explain to her that her daughter and I already talked about it, and that my work is important to me. I realized that this is my son too, and that he's my responsibility as well. But my fiancé is acting selfish at this point, and her mom refuses to see it. She put your son at risk and didn't care. You should be the one fuming at both of them. What was your son supposed to do at your work? Wearing a mask being 1-year-old? Shaking my head. Piggybacking onto this comment to ask Opie, why are you so focused on what the mother-in-law says? She can do a running jump. Have this discussion with your fiancé in private. Cut out the mother-in-law. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your fiancé and her mother sound like idiots. Mother-in-law said I was in the wrong for caring more about work than my own son. Her daughter cared more about a salon appointment than her own son. Do you really want to marry into this? Fiancé also took their 1-year-old to hang out at the hospital in the middle of a pandemic, exposing him to all sorts of diseases because she wanted to get her hair done. I'd be livid. Not the a-hole, and if I were you, I'd reconsider tying yourself to such a selfish, self-centered woman. Just look at your mother-in-law for what she'll be like in 20 to 30 years. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for yelling at my daughter for speaking ill of the dead? My daughter's 19 female stepmother, 31, died a week ago. She wanted to spend her last days at home, and when we knew the end was near, my daughter and I went into the room where she was laying. My daughter and her stepmom have had a contentious relationship throughout the years. And she had left the house at 18, telling her stepmother how much she hated her because we had asked her to pay for college by herself. However, when her stepmother got sick, There was a brief period where both she and her stepmother seemed pretty open to forgiving each other for whatever they felt that the other had done to offend each other. My wife had also said she hopes my daughter can go to college eventually. My daughter was away working as a waitress in another town, but when the end seemed near, she ended up asking friends to cover her shifts and drove back to our house. Their initial greeting with each other seemed pleasant, but then my wife fell asleep and my daughter went to her room. Then a week ago, doctors said she could go at any time. My daughter and I ended up going to her stepmom's room, and when my daughter went to reach for her stepmother's hand, her stepmother moved her hand away. Then her stepmother said to me, "Where is my daughter? I want to see my daughter." When my daughter tried to say something, my wife shook her head and said, "I don't want you here." My daughter walked out, and I brought my younger daughter, 5, in to see her mother. When I went to see my daughter later, she said she acknowledged that her stepmom was probably in a lot of pain. My wife died the next morning. My entire spirit is broken, and planning her burial the way she would have wanted and being with my 5-year-old has been the only thing that's kept me alive. After the small funeral we had, I let my daughter go over to my late wife's sister's home. The rest of the people from my family gathered to talk, including my older daughter. We were talking about how much my wife had to look forward to and how badly we feel for my daughter. My older daughter suddenly snapped and stood up saying, "Can we just get out what everybody except my dad is feeling?" She was a complete and utterly awful person who has done so much to make each of our lives miserable. Are we going to continue to pretend that she's a saint now that she's gone? I flipped out and told my daughter she could leave my house if she wants to continue speaking ill of the dead, and that I couldn't think of anything lower than speaking about someone who can't defend themselves, so she should settle her anger towards my wife on her own. My daughter ended up packing up her things and saying she was leaving. My relatives all got mad at me and asked if I was making talking about what kind of person my late wife was taboo forever. I told them that I didn't want to hear any of it, especially when we just buried her. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. I can't imagine what you must be feeling having lost your wife. However, one of your wife's final acts was to cast your daughter aside. Your daughter seems to think that you enabled or allowed a lot of mistreatment by your former wife. I don't know how true that is, but from what you did tell us of her actions, it doesn't sound good. You sound like the kind of father that squashed down mistreatment of your own child, or put your head in the sand so as to not deal with it, and enable your wife's poor treatment of your daughter. Which is what you're doing once again. In fact, the reason this has likely happened is because you permitted your wife to treat your daughter poorly over the years, which built up a lot of resentment. I understand you're grieving the loss of a wife. Again, I can't even fathom that. But you're going to lose a daughter soon too. It's time to start cutting your losses. Unless you deal with this, her way of settling her anger on her own will highly likely be by either cutting you out of her life or having a very frosty relationship with you for a long time. I'm sorry for your loss. Important edit. Saw OP's comments where he says the reason he's not paying for his daughter's college is so he can pay to send the younger, his wife's, daughter to private kindergarten. Wow. So you'd not support your daughter's college education, something that really matters in life, because your younger real daughter has to go to private kindergarten, which you openly acknowledge was your wife's decision. Sir, it sounds like you and your wife have reaped exactly what you sowed. To be very clear, you and your wife were absolute a-holes. No wonder your daughter said what she did and despised your wretched wife. Also, she will doubtlessly come to despise you as a failure of a father and failure of a man. You say you can't think of anything lower than someone speaking ill of someone who can't defend themselves? I'll help you with that. Something that is lower, and probably the lowest of the low, is selling out your daughter because you didn't have the spine to say no to a young lover. My 5-year-old has been the only thing that's kept me alive. This is the statement that cements my opinion that you're the a-hole. Everyone else can see your wife sucked. She probably emotionally abused your oldest daughter, and you clearly don't care about your oldest because you excluded her in the thing that keeps you alive during this horrible time. Don't speak ill of the dead, it's just a cheap cop-out. Your wife sucked, and so do you. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for calling my mother-in-law a witch for saying it was my sister's fault she died in an accident? So, my 16-year-old little sister died in a freak accident 5 months ago. I can't say a lot about the accident since there's gonna be a trial, but I can say that there was another party at fault for her death. I've been dating my current partner for about a year and a half, and in that time, I haven't met their mother for more than 3 times. There are issues between my partner and their mother, and we usually visit on holidays, and that's all. Recently, we visited my mother-in-law, and the conversation quickly went to my sister and me dealing with my grief. I told my mother-in-law and her husband the truth, that I have never been this angry and sad in my life, that I am not coping well. I do see a mental health professional twice a week. I told them the thing that bothers me the most, which is related to my sister's gravesite. The person who caused my sister's death was apparently randomly buried right next to her. I hate that she has to rest next to him. My mother-in-law then told me that it was my sister's fault she got killed, because of reasons related to her death I cannot talk about in detail because of the upcoming trial. I started to cry, told her I needed to step out for a second, and went and sat on the front stairs for a while. I came back, told everyone that I was fine, and changed the subject. Mother-in-law then proceeded to tell me I was being weak, and I shouldn't have minded her saying that about my sister, since it was a fact that it was my sister's fault as well. We left. I told my partner I felt like my mother-in-law kinda ambushed me and I felt bad. My partner understood me completely and told me this was the reason they didn't have a relationship with their mother. Later, I told my best friends about this, and they disagreed with me and my partner. They told me I was just being too serious, taking things out of context, and since me and mother-in-law don't have a proper relationship, I probably just misunderstood her words. I don't think I did. I don't think anyone should watch their words around me, but I also think a person that doesn't know the whole story, even though I did tell my mother-in-law the circumstances of my sister dying, and she knew there is a trial coming, shouldn't say these kind of things, especially to their child's partner, especially in the stage of getting to know someone. So the question is, am I the a-hole for thinking my mother-in-law is being rude and weird about my sister's death? I honestly don't even know anymore. Not the a-hole. Dump your friends. Yeah, what the hell? With friends like those, who needs enemies? Not the a-hole. You don't even need to ask. Seriously, most people would have lost it on your mother-in-law if they were in your position. I honestly expected you to blow up on her, but yeah, your feelings are totally justified. Holy crap. NTA, NTA, NTA. First of all, I am so sorry for your loss, OP. Second, is your mother-in-law a freaking sociopath? I don't think she even makes a-hole territory because that is a whole new level of heartless. Even if the accident was 100% your sister's fault, you would still feel indescribable pain. We are human. There's no logic or fact when it comes to our emotions. There is no math for grief. We hurt when we lose who we love. Nitpicking over liability and blame is the job of insurance companies and attorneys. Her calling you weak for a very justified human reaction disrespects both your grief and your sister's memory. I'm so sorry she said that to you, and I would suggest not speaking to her until she sincerely apologizes. You need your space now. Best of luck. My thoughts are with you and your family. P.S. To hell with your friends. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.
Update 2. I told my fiancé my stepdaughter isn't mine. If you haven't watched the first part of this saga, click the link in the description. Now for the second update. I'm not sure if you've all forgotten me, but I'll start with some good news. We've finally figured out how to properly toast Pop-Tarts for my son. We had about 2 weeks of calm. During that time, I spoke to my stepdaughter a few times about everything. I reassured her that, no matter what happens, she'll always be my girl. She told me she hoped her mom wouldn't come back, saying her mom was controlling. Then a few days ago, my ex-fiancé walked into my house carrying 2 grocery bags, acting as if nothing had happened. She asked me what I wanted for dinner. I told the kids to go to their rooms and confronted her. I told her that we're over. She asked why, and when I didn't respond, she said, "Couples fight," as if her actions were normal. Her behavior was unsettling. I told her she needed to leave or I'd call the police. She asked why I was doing this to her. I was at a loss for words, so I picked up my phone. At that point, she backed down saying, "Okay, let me get my daughter." I told her that if she wanted her daughter, she needed to call CPS and explain why she had disappeared for 2 weeks. She insisted she had only been gone for one night. She refused to leave without her daughter and started shouting her name. Her daughter came out of her room and reluctantly said she would go with her. I told her, "You have a place here for as long as you want." Her mother then said, "He'll kick you out just like he's kicking me out." I stood my ground, saying she could have her daughter back after speaking to CPS. When I started dialing the police, she ran out. Later, I talked to my stepdaughter. She said she was willing to leave because she didn't want to cause trouble for me. I reminded her that she's the child, I'm the adult, and it's my responsibility to look after her, not the other way around. I asked her where she wanted to stay for now, and she said she'd rather stay here. My ex-fiancé ended up calling CPS. They reached out to me, and there was supposed to be a meeting yesterday with her, but she didn't show up. Now for the comments. There is seriously something mentally wrong with her. Yup, seems to be. Having been raised by a mom with BPD who acted just like this, you have no idea how powerful it was when you reminded her she was the child and it was your job to look after her. Sincerely, no matter what, I can promise you she felt safer in that moment, and hearing you say it out loud than she likely ever has with her mother. Oh yeah, she wants her daughter so badly with her that she missed a CPS meeting. Hope your stepdaughter can stay with you. Doesn't this reflect badly on her for further dealings? Like deeming her an unfit parent and taking custody of her daughter? OP is her fiancé. If custody is given, it would go to the next of kin, the stepdaughter's father. Unless the father feels his daughter is much safer and happier with OP than with him, then OP can fight for custody. I'm not sure about the legalities of custody matters. See a lawyer about getting custody of your stepdaughter. If you get the biological father on your side, you might have a better chance. Tell your stepdaughter not to take any phone calls from her mom. She should text only and screenshot everything. The ex may end up saying something to the daughter that you can use to get custody. Also, change the locks. Next story. Am I the a-hole for breaking down after my girlfriend suggested an open relationship? I, 34 male, am 5'3" and have always been self-conscious about my height. I'm aware that it holds me back in the dating market to some extent. I've worked hard my entire life to prove myself and now have a successful career, making more than enough to live comfortably. I've been dating my girlfriend, 26 female, for 2 years. She's stunning, charismatic, and confident. Everything I've always wanted in a partner but never thought I'd actually have. Early on, I asked her what she saw in me, and her response was vague but sweet. Something about how I'm kind and stable. It was enough for me to believe this was real. Recently, she suggested we try an open relationship. She said she wanted to explore freedom while staying committed emotionally. It hit me like a truck. I asked if she wasn't happy with me or if that wasn't enough. She laughed nervously and said it wasn't about me, just that she feels too young to lock herself down. I tried to hold it together, but I couldn't. I started crying, which I never do, especially in front of her. I told her that it felt like I was just a placeholder, that maybe she was using me for financial security while looking for someone better. She looked shocked and said I was overreacting and being dramatic, that it wasn't about replacing me, just adding more to our dynamic. At that point, I told her if she wanted to explore, she could do it, but not while in a relationship with me. She looked stunned and started to argue, but I told her I needed space and asked her to leave. She's been texting me saying I'm being unfair and making her feel bad for being honest about her needs. So, am I the a-hole? I'm considering breaking up. This hurt me so much, genuinely. Now for the top comments before reading the mini update. Not the a-hole. A suggestion of an open relationship, especially after 2 years, is completely grounds for a breakup. Either she has someone in mind already, or she's wanting to window shop for more options in the future. I'm so sorry, Obi. That would absolutely break me as well. The fact that she started to argue and victimize herself is also very telling. She's trying to make you seem like the bad guy for holding her back. If she wants an open relationship so bad out of the blue after a 2-year relationship, she can find someone who wants an open relationship. I guess you're right, there's someone else. Or she wants to search. This open relationship can't work, especially not in Opie's favor. Not the a-hole. She's basically asking your permission to cheat and not have to give up any perks of the relationship. Most of us would have felt exactly how you're feeling. Let her go. It's better to be single on your own than alone in a shell of your relationship. This is exactly what people are doing nowadays, using open relationships as covers for cheating. They only want to open it on their side though, and get upset when a person who didn't want to open the relationship ends up relenting and starts dating outside the relationship as well. The person who wanted the open relationship didn't specify they only wanted it on their side. My ex opened the relationship without bothering to tell me, at least if you believe her. She wasn't cheating. We were just supposed to live together, married, while doing whatever we wanted otherwise. She even suggested that when she was caught. To no one's surprise, she got super mad when I started dating around months after I kicked her out and started the divorce. She meant exactly what you're saying. An open relationship where she got to do whatever she wanted while I provided money, took care of the kids all night, cleaned the house, did the laundry after work, and lived like a monk. And that's what OP's now ex is suggesting too. She doesn't want to be locked down. She wants the stability. She wants the stability he provides, while looking around for someone else to latch onto for the next round. Update. I broke up with her over text. She was really mad and called me crying, but I was 100% sure, so I broke up with her regardless. Next story. Am I the a-hole for ruining Thanksgiving after my boyfriend announced my pregnancy and his mom fainted? So I, 20 female, went to my boyfriend's Jake, 22 male, family's Thanksgiving dinner last week. We'd been dating for a year and this was my first time meeting the whole squad, so I was already kind of nervous. Before we left, Jake joked about how his family was super traditional and said I should be ready for some old-fashioned vibes. I just laughed it off. Dinner starts and everything's fine, until Jake suddenly goes, "Hey everyone, we have big news." I'm sitting there like, what big news? Then he grins at me and says, "Tell them, babe." I'm panicking, so I just sit there confused, and his mom is already emotional, asking if we're engaged or something. Then Jake drops, "She's pregnant." Y'all, I am not pregnant. I immediately start denying it, but Jake's cracking up saying it's just a joke, and telling me to play along. His family isn't laughing. His mom legit faints. His dad starts yelling, and his grandma's praying under her breath. I'm mortified. I stand up and go, "Actually, the real joke is Jake thinking I'd stay with someone who'd pull this." And I walked out. Jake's been blowing up my phone, saying I embarrassed him and ruined Thanksgiving. His family's apparently mad at me for causing drama, but like, I didn't announce a fake pregnancy and traumatize his mom? Am I the a-hole for walking out and leaving him to deal with the mess? Not the a-hole. Your now probably ex-boyfriend thinks that putting you on the spot with no warning in front of his family is totally okay. Nope. OP, good job on that. Yeah, like he put her in an impossible position for his own amusement that expected her to clean up the mess. He's lucky she didn't go off on him right then and there. Bro really thought the fake pregnancy announcement to his whole traditional family was going to be peak comedy. Not the a-hole. Let him deal with the mess he made. Finally, people who agree. Anyone who isn't a complete moron should agree with you. It's insane and one would think this is reasonable behavior from him. Like, maybe if they're that type of family and you both planned a joke, it could land. But not including you in the joke makes you the joke, and that's really crappy of him. Next story. Am I the a-hole for breaking off my engagement with my fiancé because of his creepy comments toward my 14-year-old sister? I, 20 female, am in a tough situation, and I'm not sure if I'm overreacting, so I need some outside perspectives. I've been with my fiancé Charles, 35 male, for about 2 years and everything seemed fine until recently. A few weeks ago, my 14-year-old sister, Amy, came to stay with us for a few days while our parents were out of town. During her stay, I started noticing some really unsettling things. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but Charles started making comments that made me feel incredibly uncomfortable. He would call her so hot and say things like, "You're going to turn heads when you're older and you've got such a body on you already." The worst part was when he said, "I'd be jealous if I were your boyfriend. Every guy will be looking at you soon." I tried to ignore it at first, but it kept happening and I began to feel sick to my stomach. Then one evening, I overheard him telling a friend on the phone, "Amy's got that look now. It's like she's starting to bloom." It was honestly one of the creepiest things I've ever heard. I felt like I was losing my mind, and I just knew I couldn't stay in that relationship anymore. I confronted him about his behavior and he immediately got defensive. He denied it and said I was being paranoid and that I should trust him. He insisted that he was just being nice and that I was overreacting. I didn't care. I packed my things, broke off the engagement, and moved back in with my parents. Now my friends and some family members are telling me I overreacted. They say I should have talked it out with him first, but I don't see how that would have changed anything. So am I the a-hole for breaking up with my fiancé because of his creepy comments toward my little sister? Now for the top comments. Drop the man and the friends defending him. That is red flag and fire behavior. He was grooming your sister. He's got huge pedo vibes. I would not want him around your sister, any future friends' kids, or your own. The age gap is too much. Your sister is not much younger than you are. To us older people, him being with you is just as sick as picturing him with your sister. Get out. Good job. I'd also look him up to see if he's on an offender list. I'd argue that with the age difference, he was grooming OP too. Freaking disgusting. OP did the right thing throwing away the whole relationship. Why are you surprised when you dated him as a teenager? You probably got too old for this creep. My parents convinced me it was okay because their situation was similar. Dad is in his 60s and mom is 40s. You're 15 years younger than him. He's not with you because you're mature for your age. That's the whole point. You're younger and easier to control. Once you get older, he'll leave for someone younger. That's the kind of man he is. Leave now before it's too late and before he gets a chance to hurt your sister. Last story. Am I the a-hole for cutting off my family after they didn't believe me about my cousin? I, 25 female, cut contact with my family when I turned 18, and I've been estranged from them ever since, until recently. Growing up, I was part of what everyone else thought was a loving, close-knit family. We had regular family dinners, holidays, and vacations together. But beneath that picture-perfect facade, something terrible was happening. When I was 13, my older cousin, then 21, started sexually assaulting me. At first, it was subtle. He would brush against me accidentally or linger too close when no one was paying attention. I didn't know how to process it at a time and tried to convince myself I was imagining things. But over time, his behavior escalated. He began cornering me during family gatherings, groping me, and making vulgar comments about my body. The breaking point came when he trapped me in a room during a family party, put his hand under my shorts, and touched me there. I froze, too scared to scream. He leaned in and whispered, "No one's going to believe you," before walking out like nothing had happened. For years, I carried the weight of that moment alone. I avoided him as much as I could, but he always found ways to isolate me. I felt dirty and powerless. At 16, I couldn't take it anymore and finally told my mom. I remember sitting on the edge of her bed, sobbing as I explained everything. I thought she'd protect me, but instead, she said, "You must have misunderstood him. He'd never do something like that. He's family." When my dad found out, he told me I was being dramatic and warned me not to spread lies that could ruin lives. Their reaction crushed me. Desperate, I confided in my aunt, his mom, hoping someone would believe me. Instead, she screamed at me, accused me of trying to destroy her son's reputation, and told the rest of the family that I was lying. After that, everything changed. My siblings avoided me and other relatives stopped inviting me to things. I became the black sheep, the troublemaker. Meanwhile, my cousin acted like nothing happened, smirking at me during family events or brushing past me just to make me uncomfortable. I started skipping gatherings altogether, but that only made me look difficult in everyone else's eyes. When I turned 18, I packed my things and left. I went no contact with everyone, determined to start over. Therapy helped me process the trauma and the betrayal, and over time, I built a new life for myself. I went to college, started a career, and met my fiancé who knows everything and has been my biggest support system. For years, I didn't hear from my family. I assumed they didn't care. But a few months ago, after I announced my engagement, my parents reached out. My mom left a long voicemail saying she missed me and wanted to heal the family. My dad sent an email saying they regretted how things turned out and wanted to be part of my wedding. At first, I ignored them, but they kept reaching out, so I finally responded. I told them I'd only consider reconciling if they acknowledged what happened and apologized for not protecting me. My mom started crying, saying she was sorry for how things went, but refused to outright admit she'd failed me. My dad said, "We did the best we could at a time," which felt more like an excuse than an apology. Then, other relatives started reaching out, saying I needed to let it go for the sake of the family. One even said, "He's changed. Why hold on to the past?" But to me, it's not just the past, it's years of betrayal, silence, and being dismissed that still haunts me. Am I being too harsh for refusing to reconcile unless they take full accountability? Or am I justified in keeping my distance from a family that chose their comfort over my safety? Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Block them all. They're not your family. True, what OP experienced was sexual assault, and the impact of that trauma is huge. Your parents and aunt had a responsibility to protect you, and they failed. Not the a-hole. If I'm being honest, it sounds like you have let it go and are not holding on to the past. You're moving on it up. They made a choice to not believe and protect you. This is a very reasonable direct consequence of that choice. You even offered them a very fair boundary to be able to reconnect, acknowledging the past so they can move on and you can heal. If they can't even meet that one requirement, then they aren't ready to treat you with the respect you deserve. They want to go back to the dynamic that fits for them. I hope you're able to continue healing. You're doing great in my opinion. There's an audacity flare somewhere that would fit this perfectly. Similar to, "Sorry, I messed you up running you over with my car, but I did the best I could considering I was drunk." Not the a-hole OP. Out the abuser enablers, then block them all. Have a wonderful life. You deserve every minute of it. Not the a-hole. These people are still blaming you. He's fine and been fine all these years. Changed? Why would he have changed? How can they tell? BS. They can all go F themselves.